17 years ago, when the stars were right once again. The old ones returned to Earth to parcel out its lands amongst themselves. Some of the ruling lords and ladies are benevolent, providing for their humans so their lands can prosper. Some are simply aloof and govern their realms with indifference. Others, however, have grown twisted, demented, sick. The Lord of the Lake deeply adores all his dark mothers, but he has developed a particular fascination with his next bride-to-be. The rising adolescent, Hope, is such a promising young female, bright and spirited. What beautiful offspring she will provide him. Zungreth's keen anticipation of this courtship is palpable among his many acolytes, but is especially significant to Charity, Hope's older sister and 5 years a dark mother. In this shared experience, 5 separate voices cry out into the cosmos to tell their woeful tales. Come explore the depths of love, passion, hope and hopelessness as the saga plays out in this bleak, dying corner of Ronald Linson's patchwork lands. Good evening, folks. Thanks for joining us. Tonight is a very special launch party for To Be a Dark Mother. That was the trailer, that's the blurb. That should give you some kind of flavour of what it is. It's a dark and twisted tale of Lovecraftian horror. I should be joined by my 4 fellow co-writers of this. And we're gonna do some readings, we're gonna have a bit of a chat. There'll be a live Q&A, so if you have any questions, get them down in the comments and we'll try and answer them as we go along. So, without further ado, for my first guest this evening, joining us, he's not got video, but joining us tonight to talk about it is co-founder of Mannison Press, Mr. Ronald Linson. Hi, Ron.
Oh, hello, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Where are you joining us from?
New York City.
Oh, nice. What's that like there at the minute?
Right now, it's hot and humid, sort of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the rest of the world then, hot and humid. Yeah. I don't know what's going on at the minute. I feel like my clothes are like sticking to my skin. It's really nasty.
Yeah, it's probably worse in New York because it's a city. You know, you get
Yeah, no, I'm quite lucky because my flat looks out onto the sea, so I get a sea breeze. Without that, it'd be horrible. I wouldn't want to be in London right now. I bet that's bloody horrible.
Yeah, you're lucky there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, To Be a Dark Mother, where did the idea come from?
Well, as it happens with a lot of writers, you get an idea, a picture in your head. I had this idea of a couple of people sitting on a porch and, just arguing about the state of the world. And, I said, what if the state of the world is really bad? Just like falling apart, and then, I saw this anthology call, this submission call for an anthology about Lovecraftian horror. And I said, well, okay, let's go with that. So I wrote the story that in To Be a Dark Mother, that is Charlie's tale, originally under the title To Be a Dark Mother for this anthology. And unfortunately, it doesn't look like this anthology was ever published, but it didn't make but the story didn't make it to the final round before being rejected ultimately. But so then a little later on, I just left the story sit there for a while, and I said, wait a minute, I could have the story told by 5 different people from the perspective of the 5 main characters, and I went to my partner Deidre, at Mannison Press, and she thought that was a great idea, and we went with it, the original story was a little more graphic, let's just say. So
it's bad enough.
Yeah, exactly. So I toned it down some, and then I approached Benjamin Greene, and he was on board. But then we kind of let it sit for a little while because I wanted to revise it a little bit, and then finally I invited him back on, and then I approached you, and you brought Eric on, and here we go. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so the Patchwork Lands, did that come first or did that come after the story you'd written?
Yeah, it came after. Yeah, because I actually thought, why not expand on the idea? Why not have other old ones and have their own lands? You always talk about like the old ones returning, but you never talk about what happens after the fact. When they're actually here. So
when they're parceling it, when they're sort of taking bits for themselves, and
exactly. They have their own little territories, that kind of thing. So
that'd be really cool to explore how they interact.
I'm currently writing a bunch of short stories for another collection. And it's going to be diverse. Some of them are going to be like more cosmic fantasy more than horror. Others are going to be straight up, oh my gosh, I can't believe you wrote that crap, So
nice.
So
Well, one of the stories I've read one of them called Viridescent.
Right, that's it.
Yeah, which is one of the only, and I've got to say, because we were talking about it, I looked it up. It is probably the only cosmic horror story I know that has a happy ending. It's brilliant.
That's why I call it cosmic fantasy. So
yeah, it was great. It was just like, this is strange. It was like, because obviously they always there's the old Lovecraft meme, isn't there? They all lived happily ever after. No, only joking. They're all dead or insane.
Exactly.
So to actually have that happily ever after is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, that idea actually came up from another story I started writing called "Vex Not the Green Sisters," and
right.
And I actually said, wait a minute, where did they come from? So I sat down. I just had like a brilliant idea for this. So I just sat down and wrote pretty much the whole thing in a sitting. Well, over a couple of days, but I call it a sitting because when you're concentrating on the story, it's a sitting really. So after some revisions and read throughs by a few people, here we are. So yeah.
Nice, excellent. Yeah, so we'll talk more about it in a bit.
Okay.
Now I'll bring on the next guest. So yeah, cheers for that, Ron. I'll speak to you very soon, mate.
Sure.
Okay. My next guest is somebody who's been on my After Hours series and also appeared at a cameo in my live launch event for my novella, which was from Mannison Press, Burning Reflection. Please welcome Deidre J Owen. Hello.
Hey, hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Tim. How are you?
Yeah, very good. Again, cool background.
Oh, thank you.
This is it. You're the only person who ever rivals me with background. It's just like you seem to be in a different room every time as well.
What you can't see behind my laptop is that my whole office has been just completely rearranged to get the best light, because otherwise I have windows that have me backlit, which doesn't work when I pull up on the camera. So I'm like sitting on the edge of my desk, like a little bitty narrow thing. My laptop's on like 6 books. And there's a lamp.
I was going to say, is it on a stack of books? Because it was last time.
It is, yeah.
Mine's still on a stack of box. Mine's still on two box files. Yeah. So when Ron gave you when you first introduced to it, what was your initial thought about this when you read Ron's chapter?
Well, I read the original story and he sent it to me, and I loved it, but it was darker even still, and there was one scene in particular. I'm like, that kind of goes to a really dark place, man. I don't know. So, but it really didn't take a whole lot to kind of tone that down, just enough that it wasn't like too over the top. And I loved the story, and we talked about what to do with it. And then you had the idea of telling it from different points of view. And I think originally it was 4 points of view. And then one of us had the idea to add in the alien. And that was a lot of fun. That was a really cool idea to go with.
Well, if you hadn't, I wouldn't be here.
And you were the first person that came to mind too. And we're like, oh, we should bring in someone to do Zong Red. Tim. We need to talk to Tim.
It's really funny because because you asked me if I knew anybody else, and I contacted Eric about it, and the first thing he said to me is, "Are you doing Zung Red?" It was just like, am I so predictable? I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but there you go.
In the beginning, we had I kind of went back and forth. I think initially when we were talking about expanding it, I was considering the idea of writing Carolyn, because I'm a mom, and I could bring that mother's perspective. But then I thought, I'm a mom, and I have a daughter who's 10, so I kind of have that insight into the pre-adolescent. I said, I think I could bring a lot to Hope.
Yeah,
so I want Hope, so I that's how I ended up writing Hope.
Well, your chapter is just bloody.
Tim, it wrecked me. It wrecked me.
It's really funny because when we did the after hours was when you first told me about this, and you were saying that you were just writing something at that time that
yes, that's
broken you.
I had to take a break after I finished that last scene. Tears. I went down. I threw my arms around my husband. I was like, oh. And then I had to take a break. I didn't write anything for a little while. I needed to step away. And I think just being so connected to it, having a daughter, and just kind of having that little thread of identifying with it, it was a very difficult thing for me to write.
Yeah. Well, it worked. Whatever you did with it, it worked, because it was just like, because I was sent yours and Ron's chapters. And I read them, and I was just like, I read them back to back one night before I was like in bed, because I read in bed when I'm supposed to be going to sleep. That was a bad idea. I was just sort of lying there going, "Fuck, that was bleak."
Then we did it well. Then we did it right. That's the impression that
excellent. Right, so are you going to give us a little bit of a reading?
I can do that. I have my copy here.
Oh, yes, because I don't. There you go.
Yeah, as the designer, I had the benefit of actually getting this in my hands first for anyone else.
Nice. That's a very attractive book. I like that.
Thank you. I'm very excited about it. So,
well, I've seen several incarnations of that cover, haven't I?
Yes, and then, that's how it goes when I'm designing. Sometimes I have to scrap it and start all over, but I enjoy the process. I have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, I felt really bad because I was kind of like, maybe try with a different color, and she went through every
color backgrounds. We probably went through 15 different colors in the back.
I went back to the original.
This was the original. But sometimes you have to do that. Speaking just as a designer, sometimes you have to go through all the things to say, nope, none of that worked. Now I know, and I can go back and feel comfortable with what I started with. So that's fine. That works great.
Excellent.
Okay, so I'm not very great at readings, and I'll be honest with you, the only time I've ever done readings has been with my children's books, which is a far cry from what this is.
Yeah.
But I'm going to read a little segment of Hope.
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave you to it, and I'll come back when you finish. Just give me a wave or something.
Okay, it's not a very long segment.
Cool.
All right. And just as I go into this, I'm going to mention Robbie the rabbit. This is a stuffed toy. It had been nearly a year since the last rite of fertility when one of the other neighbor girls had undergone her initiation. That was the last time Hope had seen Candlewood Lake. It was a strangely beautiful place, but different for the pictures in her mother's old photo album. That giant, ugly black building on the island was new, for example, and it did nothing for the landscape. In fact, it filled her with dread. Her former sister beckoned them out onto the water. Not into the water, onto it. Hope had witnessed this several times now, but still couldn't reconcile it in her mind. She stared down at the smooth surface of the lake as Charity stepped onto it, and she watched numbly as the young woman strode across it. "Are you coming?" Charity asked expectantly. Uncle Charlie stepped forward first, and once assured of the surface's stability, beckoned for Hope to join him. The two held hands as they walked lightly across the lake, chatting briefly about Robbie the rabbit and observing the life still teeming below their feet. Hope stopped short, however, as Charity reached the steps of the temple and strode confidently up to the imposing archway at the top. An offensive odor she couldn't quite place wafted down the steps, causing her to wrinkle her nose. It turned her stomach. She recognized the smell as something that often lingered on Charity's clothing, only it was much more pungent here. She wondered if she would carry this smell home with her on her own clothing, and hoped desperately that the stink wouldn't cling to Robbie's pelt. He had such a warm, musty, inviting scent. He smelled like a memory. Burying her face between the rabbit's ears, she allowed her uncle to gently coax her up the stairs and into the bleak monstrosity.
That was excellent. Well done. Yeah. Yeah, excellent.
Thank you. I had a hard time deciding what little segment to read because, like you said, you don't want to add too many spoilers, and it doesn't take long to get into the story and really start spoiling things.
No, well, one of the issues I've found choosing my segment was finding the bit that didn't overlap too much as well, because with us all writing the same story but from different perspectives. You don't want to read the meat of somebody else's story.
Yep. And there are so many scenes that overlap. In fact, when I was writing it, I made sure to include little scenes that weren't in Ron's chapter.
I did. Yeah, that was one of the things that I thought of, because obviously I read Ron's first and then I read yours. And again, and that was what I was like, okay, she's done a little bit there off to the side, so I'm going to do a little bit off there to the side. Sort of thing. Just, it's a tricky beast to do. It's a tricky beast.
It is, and trying to get into the mind of the character that you're portraying. And as a child character, sometimes children pick up on things that adults just let them wash over. So there are a few scenes that Ron had pointed out. He's like, this little line of dialogue wasn't in my original scene, and I said that's something that the adults just said that just kind of washes over them. The child picks up on, that happens a lot. Children have elephant ears,
Yeah, I know that. They always hear me when I'm swearing or something. Guaranteed. Well, excellent. Right, we've had a few comments. Gary Power. Hey, Gary. How you doing, mate? So, hi, Tim and Ron. And then a minute ago, he said, just ordered, so looking forward to reading it. Hi, Deidre.
Hi.
There you go. Michelle Rivers here. Hi, Michelle. She says, great reading. There you go.
Well, thanks.
John Chadwick is here. Excellent. Hi, John. Cheers for tuning in, mate. Jennifer Garrett is here.
Hello.
Excellent.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Okay, so what I'll do is I will take you off and bring on my next guest. Joining us all the way from Canada today is Mr. E.L. Giles. Hello, mate.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. You?
Yeah, pretty good. Whereabouts in Canada are you?
It's quite hot today. Hot and humid and sticky and
yeah. That everywhere then. Yeah. Like I said before, man, great choice of t-shirt.
Thanks.
Yeah.
The original one.
Exactly. The original and best.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. They never got it, but never got it for me, the rest of them. Never did it.
Super Mario World. I love this one. Seriously. Yeah. Probably the best. To my taste, at least.
Right, yeah. I can think it's because I had the original NES.
Yeah.
The big old... Well, when I got it, we had two cartridges, that and Duck Hunt, because we couldn't afford any others, and they were the ones you got with it. It was just like, so I played Super Mario Brothers like over and over and over again.
Yep.
Yeah. It's good you practice though, isn't it? Them old games. Anyway, so when because it was me that got you involved in this. They asked me if I knew anybody else who was into sort of cosmic horror and Lovecraftian stuff, and I thought, well, I thought I'd give you a heads up. Yep. So when you were sent the first two chapters, what did you think?
I thought, dang, this is dark, but at the same time, was the thing I enjoy reading, so I was really excited to start working on it. In fact, I loved it really much.
Yeah, it was a great little project, isn't it? It's
yes, it's kind of different from what we're used to read when we think about Lovecraftian horror. So
yeah, exactly. It's very non-traditional in that sort of way. It's got like a kitchen sink kind of feel to it, hasn't it? More like
yes, it's kind of personal and it's hard to explain, but
yeah,
it's really internal, really personal, and
yeah,
it's not really, I don't know, it's not about the environment in which the characters live in, but it's all inside how they perceive it all, and
yes, yeah,
it's an internal travel or journey or whatever.
Yeah, it's very it is hard to explain though, because I mean I was trying to explain it to my partner and I can't.
It's psychological and the thing I like. So
yeah, it has a sort of Silent Hill kind of vibe to it.
Yes,
do you know what I mean?
It's not gore. It's not about blood or It's how you feel about it.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Right. So I'm gonna do your reading for you.
Of course.
So I will. Cool. I will take you off, and I'll bring you on when I'm done.
All right.
Right. So this is an excerpt from Eric's chapter, which is from the perspective of Caroline, who is the. I think she's the mother of Hope. Have I gone mad? Yeah. Anyway. So yeah, we're gonna pick it up sort of just past the beginning. Hi, Charity, coming out of the dark. How could he do that? Caroline wondered. How could he not feel a consuming resentment towards Charity? Or was he feeling it, but simply better at hiding it? Before disappearing into the kitchen, Caroline looked over her shoulder at the young woman who stepped into the house. She couldn't help it. Besides her disturbing black eyes, Charity looked healthy. Too healthy. When compared to Caroline, Charlie, and Hope, who were all rags and bagged eyes, there was something uncanny about Charity's robe too. Something that clung to her figure and accentuated the matronly curves of her full figure. Charity smiled toothily. Caroline couldn't tell if it was the way Charity was actually wearing the robe or the gleaming red chevrons, but she looked far removed from their own miserable existence. A lifestyle no humans except those who served the Lord of the Lake could expect anymore, and certainly not a lifestyle Caroline could have offered her daughters. For one moment, Caroline and Charity made eye contact, and it was like Caroline was projected into another world, one that lived behind the deep black orbs that were her daughter's eyes. Borderless gulfs opened before Caroline as she weightlessly travelled across space, envisioning shapes and colours, cosmos and worlds yet unknown to her. Their world. A world where the sulphur skies met the placid mercury waters to create a pattern of strange textures that resembled a Goya painting. Red dust floating over a devastated, windswept plateau, thunderstorm raging, lightning bolts targeting the high, sharp mountain peaks every few seconds. Dreadful noises filled Caroline's ears, like banshees screaming in the dead of night. The laments of the wind howling its funeral dirge. It was a world of desolation, bleak, lifeless. The gaze lasted a fraction of a second, but for Caroline it seemed to go on for all eternity. But when Charity broke eye contact, Caroline was violently brought back into her house and the reality of her own life. A strong, terrible force was now bolting her to the floor. She couldn't move anymore. Summoning all her might, Caroline forced herself out of this mystical grasp and took refuge in the kitchen, far from her former daughter and the strange aura emanating from her. "May the blessings of the Lord of the Lake be upon this house," said Charity, her voice loud and clear. Caroline had picked up the knife from the counter and now gripped it with white knuckles. Her hand trembled as her entire body was assaulted with harsh tremors she struggled to control. Those black eyes haunted her. The past was resurfacing and the wounds were reopening. Charity and Charlie were chatting amicably in the foyer. Something about foods and a basket full of goods Charity had brought with her. "There is enough food there for several days," said Charity. "Hope, you go back to the kitchen," said Charlie. A moment later, the preteen materialized in the kitchen, blanching, looking like she was about to throw up. "What's the matter?" asked Caroline, worried. Hope shrugged. "It's nothing." Caroline dropped the knife noisily and gazed at her daughter. Hope was staring at her feet. "You're welcome here," Charlie said, speaking in a low voice, as if trying not to be heard by Caroline. But she heard him, and she began to listen more intently now. "At least as far as I'm concerned, but please don't upset your mother tonight. She's not feeling well." A single tear rolled down Caroline's cheek. She wiped it away before Hope caught sight of it. Of course, she wasn't feeling well. Okay, that was part of from E.L. Giles's chapter, Caroline. There we are, mate. Yeah,
Great reading.
thank you. No, because I've read all of them. This is one of the few times when I've done one of these that I've actually read the whole thing, and you did a great job in.
Thank you.
In getting it, because when I was first asked it, I was given like the choice, even though they knew I was going to take Zungreth, even though they just knew I was going to do it. I was given the choice, and I just thought I can't really put myself in her place. That sort of, but you've done a good job of putting yourself in the head of a poor woman whose daughter's been like twisted by the great old one.
Yes, and all the grief and the past, and
yeah.
But I was working on something similar at the time with my post-apocalyptic novella 6 Days to Hell, which deals with a lot of grief and hopelessness, and also I was in unknown territory, so yes.
Yeah. No, I think you did a superb job. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Nice one. Right, just having another look at the comments. We're still waiting on our final guest. He isn't here yet. Gary says he loved that. It's down to him. Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh, look, Mr. David Greene is here. Hello, sir. Gary Power enjoyed that. Gary, yep. Excellent. Right, so we're still waiting for Benjamin. But so what we'll do is I'll crack on with my segment. Okay, mate, I will take you off and I'll bring you all back on in a bit.
Thanks.
Righto. Yeah, so my segment was from the perspective of the great old one, Zungreth, who was a creation of Mr. Ronald Linson. And I was, like I said, I was given the choice. And it wasn't really a choice. I mean, the opportunity to get inside the head of a great old one was something I couldn't pass up, because I've never written anything like that. And I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, I've read, like, Neil Gaiman did I, Cthulhu, but that was a comedy thing. I can't remember if anything's been done from that perspective before. And yeah, so it was a great opportunity, but it was really, really hard. Because think about it, people. You try when you're writing characters, you can kind of, even if they're characters that are nothing like you, you've still got the basic human senses and all the rest of it. But when you're dealing with something that's basically a big blob with tentacles, I mean, where's your point of reference? Where's your starting point? Well, yeah, I had some real fun with it it took me a while to get going, but once I got going, it kind of flowed nicely. And I worked really quite heavily with Deidre's chapter because obviously they're the two characters that interact sort of the most. And yeah, so right, just give me a second. I just need to get back to the start of this because no, I don't need to get back to the start. Sorry, it's my reader because I just used it to read that segment. So I need to go back. Yeah. While I'm asking around with that. Okay, yeah. John Chadwick says, inspiring writing. I'm struggling writing a piece for an anthology based on Fulci's Gates of Hell. From Beyond. What a film. I love those films, man. That's giving you the kick. Yeah, there you go, Eric. Well done, mate. You've given Mr. John Chadwick a kick up the arse. Nice one, sir. Problem is, I can't scroll quickly because it keeps doing that stupid twirly loading thing, which is really annoying. Come on. It's probably an easier way of doing this, but I'm a numpty. Here we go. Right. So now it's smooth as clockwork. Smooth as butter. Regular as clockwork. Whatever. Okay. So now I'm going to read you an excerpt of my chapter, which is from the perspective of the great old one, Zungreth. Stirring from his slumber, the Lord of the Lake's amorphous bulk throbbed and tingled with anticipation. As the summer solstice drew closer, he had become aware the one he had been waiting for was approaching her time. The air rippled with all the signs that it was almost time to bestow that greatest of honours. It was almost time for him to take another bride. Time to create another Dark Mother. This was one he'd been waiting for. The girl, Hope, promised to be a devoted matriarch and loyal spouse. Her sister was one of his favourites. Charity had proven herself time after time, rearing his offspring to perfection. She was everything anyone could ask for in a mother. She had completed 16 births and only lost one, which was a record. She was an inspiration to the younger mothers and had become something of a matriarch. Unfortunately, a mother's fertility was finite. The future had to be prepared for. Tasting the air with one of his slippery tentacles, Zungreth called out to Charity. It is almost time. Communicating through images, sounds, feelings, let his desires be known. Go to her. Charity was carefully rotating her latest egg when the contact came. Nestling it gently back down in the bed of fire ferns, she lifted her inky black eyes to the roof of the chamber. Yes, Lord, I will visit them tonight. Her mind had been wandering again, filled with painful memories that blurred her devotion and made her question. But as soon as contact was made, everything became crystal clear again. Charity's mouth became a beatific smile as she imparted images of Easter meals with her family from her youth. Zungreth knew nothing of the festivals of man, but the act of feasting and taking nourishment wasn't lost on him. After all, Hope had to be strong to bear his children. Take them some food. Charity nodded and finished tending to her duties. Communication had been one of the most difficult aspects of his new dominion. Many of the delicate creatures that populated the land weren't equipped with the brains to handle contact with his kind. Many went mad at the mere sight of his current form. The Dark Mothers were different. They were special. Each one was like a sensory organ. Once they had felt his delicate kiss on their cheeks, their minds became as one. He could see through their eyes, feel with their extremities, and speak through their mouths. They were as much a part of his earthly form as the physical bodies that he inhabited. Cutting his mind adrift from the creature on the dais, he drifted and moved from mother to mother. Gently, he thanked them, praised them, imparted his love. Hours passed as he thought of pan-dimensional vistas and the landscapes of home. Drifting back into what humans call sleep, he was roused by a disturbance. Focusing on the vibration like somebody following a thread in a labyrinth, Zungreth found himself seeing through Charity's eyes. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Right. Yeah, so that was an expert from my chapter, Zungreth. I couldn't really do much more without going into major spoiler territory. So, righto, folks. Unfortunately, one of our guests couldn't make it tonight. So, what he's done is he has done a recording of his reading of a segment of his chapter. So thank you for that, Mr. Benjamin Micheal Greene. And this is a sample of his chapter, which is told from the perspective of the Dark Mother, Charity.
Hey everyone, my name is Benjamin Micheal Greene, and I am the writer of the story part of Charity in To Be a Dark Mother. And so I just thought I would read for my part, since I am unable to be present at the moment. I thought I'd do this recording and read the beginning of my contribution to this. And so yeah. Dark eyes opened to a dark room, and for a moment she was scared, just like she used to be. She'd come from a dream, a pleasant one that found her in a field of long green grass that tickled and scratched at her legs when she ran through. A warm sun was rising steadily, blood orange giving way to gold and then on to a whitish yellow, melting away the carpet of mist that floated over the field, decorating the grass and flower petals in diamonds of dew. There were no clouds overhead, only blue, blue as expansive and infinite as the field she ran through. No, not she. They. Because she wasn't alone. Another little girl was there with her. A funny little girl with happy eyes and a silly grin and a laugh that made the world brighter. Butterflies bobbed around them, and from some unseen place, the twittering of birds filled the air with bright noise. The little girl was holding Charity's hand, tugging and laughing, goading her to follow and chase and skip and run until they reached the sun. Charity smiled and tried to keep up with the little girl whose face always seemed obscured by her long hair, running and jumping over clumps of witch grass and dashing through carpets of soft red clover in full bloom. Everything was good and bright and lovely and safe. With a smile on her face and her eyes pinned to the ever-blue sky ahead, she opened her mouth to let out a heartfelt laugh. But she couldn't laugh. She tried and tried, but no laughter came out. Only a thin, high-pitched scream of pain and horror escaped her lips. She covered her mouth to stifle the scream, but it continued to pour from her lips like water bending and flowing around a barrier. The little girl, fingers still wrapped in her hand, face still blurred like an out-of-focus photograph, looked back at Charity and tried to free herself from her grasp. "Why are you screaming?" the little girl asked, her voice punching through Charity's non-stop belting. "Why are you angry?" Charity wanted to stop, wanted to tell the little girl that she couldn't stop, but the only thing that came out of her mouth was that violent scream, that sound of a soul being torn apart piece by piece, skinned and dissected and forced to feel every tear of viscera. Charity tried to let go of that little girl, but her fingers were still locked around her palm, tightening every single second, fingernails cutting into the girl's soft, pale skin. "Why do you hate me? Why are you hurting me?" The little girl was crying, beating her hand against Charity. "Daddy, Daddy, save me, please, where are you?" Falling to her knees, Charity looked to the sky, now blood-red and full of clouds that looked like semi-coagulated blood clots. Her voice still raised in a soul-freezing scream, and with her free hand she reached towards where heaven should be, where God should be, and then she awoke, in the darkness of her room, perspiration dotting her brow, her breath coming in gulps and gasps, and her bladder dangerously close to spilling. She rushed out of bed and walked to the small chamber pot in the corner of the room, squatted and relieved herself, rubbing beads of icy sweat from her face and trying so hard to get her bearings. but also to remember the dream. But every microsecond that passed thinned the recollection just a little bit more, and by the time she was done in the corner, she was standing upright. The dream was gone. All of the beauty and all of the horror was gone, and once again, in the pure black of the evernight of her room in the temple, Charity was left empty of thought and feeling.
Okay, so what I'll do now, I will bring everybody back on. And if and when Benjamin turns up, we can just let him on and do his bit. Right, so first on, I'll bring back Deidre. Hello.
Hello.
Ron.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello. And Eric. There we go. Right, so does if anybody has in the audience has any questions, get them down below, and we will put them round the round table. Yeah. So,
good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun, isn't it?
I love it.
Yeah. So, right. Okay, we haven't had any questions yet, so I'll start us off. Right. So, yeah, when you were given the task at hand, how long did it take you to write it? We'll start with Deidre.
Well, let's see. I had to write mine in pieces, being just such a emotionally wrenching kind of experience. I would have a bunch of tabs open on my laptop. I would have Twitter open, of course, because I'm a writer and that's what we do. And just little ways to break away. So I'd write a few paragraphs and then I'd break away. So it took me a little while to get through this. And at one point I had to step away for several days. And I don't remember how long it took me. Probably a couple weeks to get through it. Yeah.
Yeah, mine took me. I think I originally wrote because I tend to just write in a stream of consciousness. I did my first bit 1 week, and then I had to go away and do something else, and then go back to it afterwards because it was such a head fuck. It was just like,
that nails it.
Yeah. So Ron, when you originally wrote this, it was much darker.
Yes.
And how long did it take you to go through it?
Well, see, the story itself actually came in two pieces. I had written the first part, about the first half, basically like in a couple hours. I mean, I did it pretty fast because it all came into my head all at once. Like that idea of the two people sitting on the porch and having an argument about the state of the world, etc. And the second half, I can't spoil it, but the second half, the much darker half, was actually a little harder to write. That took me, I guess, the better part of a week, just to sit down and do it, probably for the same reasons you guys had trouble with writing your parts, just for the whole head getting into your head and trying to think around the darkness, so,
Yeah, because I mean, we as writers, you get so wrapped up in what you're doing at any given time, don't you?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's just you don't want to think about that one too deeply when you're writing it.
I mean, the ending was like the real killer, for
oh man.
Yeah.
No, it was like reading yours was bad enough, and then I read Deidre's, and it was like, oh my god.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, like I say, bleak.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, Eric.
It went quite fast, honestly. Considering I work full time and have family stuff to do, but perhaps 2-3 weeks. I got it done, sent it to my editor. She sent it back to me, but no, it went quite fast.
No, excellent. Yeah, because I remember you sort of contacted me about it and saying asking me where I was going to go with mine.
Yes,
sort of thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I did. That was precisely the direction I was going in.
That's cool because I wasn't sure where you were to send your story to, so I was glad that you had a about the same idea as I had. So
yeah, because with my chapter, I kind of had to make. I've got to make it seem reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Where you three are writing about how horrible it all is. To him, it's not. It's beautiful. That was really twisted. That was really twisted. Mm-hmm. trying to sort of make excuses, but not. I mean, it's to him, it's natural. You know, it's a great concept. Yeah. Right. So we've got a question from Gary Power. So writing tips for this genre. So writing tips for Lovecraftian, I'm guessing, cosmic horror, this kind of bleak, twisted stuff. Yeah.
Alcohol.
Yeah. Amen to that. Yeah, that's a good question. It's not an easy one to answer either. I don't know. I mean, cosmic horror is a difficult beast. Has anybody got any ideas while I scramble?
Read the genre first. Anything pre 930 and back, perhaps around 80, 50 and up. This kind of horror story was all about perception, how the character felt their environment and all. It was not about, as I said before, blood and gore and guts and stomachs spilled everywhere or whatever. It was, I don't know, a dark forest, dark matter. And
yeah, no, I agree, because
it was really psychological. It's really hard to explain, but like you said, it's bleak, like really bleak.
Yeah,
and
there's a streak of nihilism in it, isn't there? Sort of existential crisis time.
Yes, there's no need for blood or anything, and I think it's probably the best horror stories you will ever get. No need for blood or anything really overly bloody like we already get this whatever.
Yeah. No, I agree totally. Deidre?
Well, I think getting into the mindset, preparing for it before you actually sit down. I couldn't just come and sit at my computer, after a nice little happy day and just, I'm going to do some writing. I had to really kind of prepare for what I was delving into. Reading into the genre is a great idea. It's I wasn't hugely familiar with the genre. So I did a little bit of research, talked to Ron about it quite a bit, and took his cues. But really getting into the mindset, I think, is important because it does take you to a bleak, dark place, and be prepared for a little self-care after your writing session.
Yeah. There's a lot of a good sort of quality time afterwards needed.
Yeah, and a good stiff drink too. Yeah.
Yeah, good stiff drink, exactly. So, Ron, over to you, mate.
Well, the first thing I would say, as everybody else has said, just read the genre, get familiar with it, and you can feel free if you want to write in the genre to put your own spin on it. That's what I did, and you don't have to follow the mold, as they say. You can just go with your own thing and make it your own, So
yeah, I totally agree. That's where I was going to go with that, because obviously you don't want to end up in sort of pastiche country,
right?
You want to do your own thing with it. When you're don't try and emulate. What's the word? Well, I can't find the right word. But yeah, it's. And again, I would recommend a stiff drink, and stiff drink all the way.
Scotch.
Yeah. The writer's tipple. Okay, we have another question from John Chadwick. If he was alive, this is a good one. I like this. If he was alive today, how do you think HPL would think about the book now we finished it. I'll put that to Ron first. What do you think Lovecraft himself would have thought of this?
I'm not sure, actually. I mean, he was a very troubled man. He had a lot of issues, with nightmares. And,
that's one way of putting it.
So I don't know. I don't know if this would actually trigger him. I don't know if this would actually make him fall down into a fetal position and gibber all day long. I don't know. So, I mean, that would be something that would be praiseworthy if that was the case, I guess. But
Yeah. Eric?
Like Ron said, HPL was a strange beast, so I think he would have liked it, but it's really hard to tell if you weren't in his friend circle or something.
Yeah.
I think he was quite outspoken, so.
Oh, yeah, I've read some of his letters. Oh, yeah.
Really hard to tell, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Deidre?
I'm afraid I don't know enough about the man to speculate on what he might have to say.
Yeah.
But something Ron had mentioned the other day, he said he called the work something, or maybe not this one, but some of the pieces in his patchwork lands trending toward more of a neo-Lovecraftian. So it's almost it's towing an evolution of the genre. So he might recognize a lot of his elements, but he might recognize maybe some new, more modern takes on certain aspects of it.
Yeah, I mean, I see it kind of like that myself, because like similar to people like W.H. Pugmire and people like that, the later writers who have put their own stamp on it. But if you go back to Lovecraft, I mean, he was very open to people taking his ideas and to him taking other people's ideas, because it was him that incorporated the old yellow sign. I mean, that was before he was writing, Robert W. Chambers, and he brought in a lot of Arthur Machen as well. I mean, like Dunwich Horror is incredibly like Arthur Machen-esque, and all that kind of thing. So I don't know. I think he'd dig it. I think he'd like it. Obviously, if he was sort of now, back then, some of the details of it would probably make him swoon, poor chap. But he was a man of quite delicate sensibilities, wasn't he? So I think there's some scenes in there that he wouldn't approve of. Because I mean, his stuff was very sterile, if you know what I mean. There was no sex or love, or it was very it was
an internal journey.
Yes, an internal journey. But I think because of that internal journey, it's in there. I think I'd like to think that he would recognize his sort of legacy in it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Well, I was actually quite impressed with some of the things he did like, because there's some of the stuff that Robert Bloch did was quite gore fest, but he liked that, So what can you do? Yeah. So I think he'd like it on the whole. Right. I think we're pretty much done on the questions. If anybody's got any more, before we start wrapping this up, I will let you know. Here's how you get hold of a copy. Type in getbook.at/dark_mother, and that is a universal link for Amazon, and that's how you can get hold of a copy. That will also be underneath the video on YouTube, and when this gets uploaded on Facebook, I mean, and when this gets uploaded to YouTube, it will also be under the video there. And before Ron reminds me, if you're watching it on YouTube, hit subscribe and the little bell thing. I don't even know what the little bell thing is.
Notifications.
Yeah.
There you go. No, he mentioned it before we came on air. It's just like, why have I never thought of that? Oh, I'm a numpty when it comes to YouTube. I really am. Yeah, excellent. And Ron and oh yes, yeah. Mannison Press, for those of you people who don't know, that is Deidre and Ron's baby. And they put out all kinds of cool books and mini books and all the rest of it. We got another one coming out in a week. Have you got it? You've got it.
I got the proof. Yeah, that one's coming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
There's my octopus.
It is. That's just where is it?
Yeah. That's actually my octopus. We will be doing a live launch party for that this Friday, next Friday. Yeah, next Friday, a week today. And I'm just a guest to be confirmed on that, but that we should have a full squadron on that one. That's going to be a lot of fun.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, I like the fact you managed to get Piers Anthony back. Haven't you just put out a mini book?
Yes. Yep. He's done 3 original stories for us now. Well, I guess that makes 4 because we put out Read the Read, which was 3 little stories, and then he wrote another one for this. So this will be the 4th original story that he's written for Mannison Press. It's
that's brilliant. Yeah.
Starry Eyes. That's very cool.
I've talked about this a lot with you. It's like when I got accepted into Little Boy Lost with my little Lovecraftian madness in that, and she sent out the thing of here's all the confirmed stories, and I was like, Piers Anthony, not the Piers Anthony.
Yes, and we got him back for the anthology that's coming out next week. So,
yeah,
it's a mini book anthology. This is our little mini book format. See, here's the Dark Mother, and this is a 5x8. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with the camera, and our little mini books. So it's our first
sporran sized.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes.
Sporran sized.
Yes. Sorry, that took a second. Yes, sporran.
Yeah. Sporran sized. Fit inside your sporran. Yeah, perfect. Mm-hmm. Excellent. Yeah, and for all you people wondering where Mannison Press got its name, is he there?
Is he? Well, actually, it's a dangerous story to tell.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah. Go on.
Yeah, it's my writing plant. When I first moved into the house, I didn't. Everybody has a little writing pet. They have cats and their dogs and whatever, they keep them company. I didn't have any pets at the time, but I did have a plant. I had a peace lily, and I designated my writing plant, and I asked my daughter. I said we should name it. What should we name it? And she thought for like 3 seconds. She's like, let's call him Mannison.
Yeah.
That's an odd name. I like it. Let's go with it. And so when the opportunity arose that Ron and I were talking about building our company, I said, how do you feel about Mannison? I told him the story and he liked it. So that's what we went with. That's why our logo has the dark lily, is because Mannison, the peace lily, is a lily. So
nice.
And
brilliant. I love it. It's my favorite story about how a publisher got its name. It's one of the publisher's pet plant.
And he's still alive. I haven't killed it yet. Which is funny because I do not have a green thumb. My thumb is orange. Plants don't know what to do with me. Like they might die. But he hasn't died yet. He's downstairs right now.
I love it. That's brilliant. Right, folks. Okay, Neen Zip. Hey, morning from Australia. Cheers for joining us, Neen. Yep. Gary Power says, thank you so much, Tim. Hey, I'm in that. Yes, you are.
Gary Power is going to be in good bed too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So, if you want to check out Mannison Press's catalogue, go to their website, which is mannisonpress.com. And there's links and all that kind of stuff. They've got a Smashwords profile as well, if you're on that. And obviously, there's all the Amazon things. And that's the link for Dark Mother is below, which is getbook.at/dark_mother. So, thank you all for joining us. Has anybody got any last things they want to say? If you want to say goodbye to the lovely people at home?
Lovely people. Lovely people.
So anyway, Deidre, thank you. Sure. Always a pleasure. Eric.
See you, Tim.
Yeah, Eric. Thanks, mate.
Thank you,
thanks
Tim.
for joining us. Yeah, Ron.
Yep,
After all that, we managed to get you on.
Yeah, finally. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
It was worth it, mate. It was worth it. That's all you got to think about.
It was worth it. Yeah.
No, well, no worries. Really nice to talk to you, mate.
Okay.
And thank you all, you lovely viewers, for joining us. We will all speak to you again shortly. I will leave you again on the trailer. Grab a copy. You'll enjoy it. Maybe just don't read it if you're depressed. Good night, all.
17 years ago, when the stars were right once again, the Old Ones returned to Earth to parcel out its lands amongst themselves. Some of the ruling lords and ladies are benevolent, providing for their humans so their lands can prosper. Some are simply aloof and govern their realms with indifference. Others, however, have grown twisted, demented, sick. The Lord of the Lake deeply adores all his dark mothers, but he has developed a particular fascination with his next bride-to-be. The rising adolescent, Hope, is such a promising young female, bright and spirited. What beautiful offspring she will provide him. Zungreth's keen anticipation of this courtship is palpable among his many acolytes, but is especially significant to Charity, Hope's older sister and 5 years a dark mother. In this shared experience, 5 separate voices cry out into the cosmos to tell their woeful tales. Come explore the depths of love, passion, hope and hopelessness as the saga plays out in this bleak, dying corner of Ronald Linson's Patchwork Lands.